to the Cynthia Nyamai Show. I'm so glad you've joined me today, and I'm so excited about the guest that we have today. She's a celebrity. She's well known in the gospel industry, has been relevant for more than 10 years. I sing to her songs. Today is the first time that I'm getting to meet her, so I have so many questions for her. She's coming up shortly. Thank you so much for joining us, Mercy Masika. I'm so excited. I'm looking forward to this.
Me too.
It feels like I've known you all my life.
Yeah.
Because I watch your music, dance to your music. Your music speaks to me, and once in a while I just send a message. I'm like, that's a good song.
Yeah, thank you. And I also follow you, and you're amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know a little bit about your family. I've met your dad, of course, on the pulpit, your mom, and the first time I was listening to your dad, the whispers, everyone was like, that is Mercy Masika's dad, that is Mercy's dad. And I was like, I wonder how life was for her when she was growing up, and the things people say about pastors' children. Are they true, and how was your childhood?
Well, I think my childhood was my parents were servants, so they would serve community. They weren't superstars, and so we never saw anything like, them being everything was disciplined in terms of even them modeling the discipline. And so for me, I think being a pastor's kid for me was I didn't go off many times, but it's because I had good models. And so people say a lot of things about pastors' kids. Some, I don't know what they say exactly, but I think it's not easy for pastors' kids, especially if they don't have an understanding of why their parents are doing what they're doing. And our parents walked with us every step of the way. They'd be explaining us challenges in ministry, this and that, and would be traveling with them a lot. So I was involved, so I knew their pain. I knew what they were going through. But the best thing is that they were servants and not superstars.
I like that. So you didn't grow up knowing that your dad is well known, because he's famous. He's well known and respected. So you didn't see that side of him. You just saw a dad.
I saw a very disciplined dad. Someone who loves Jesus for real. I'm not saying pastors who have crazy kids don't love Jesus for real.
It's your experience.
But he communicated. I think also the aspect of communication. He's a very good communicator. He made sure that he communicated Jesus and left you to make the decision. Nothing was forced. It was you to make the decision out of what the facts that you see about Jesus. So nothing was forced, and I think that was an advantage, because all of us turned out born again and serving God, and some even as missionaries and all. It's because they explained to us and we chose for ourselves. And
the other thing they say about children from ministers' home is a lot of times, and you've said it, there are more of servants serving people and the community, but people say a lot of times, and for you it's both parents, they end up spending more time with the people and the community and not their children. That's why it seems like their children get lost in there, and sometimes even feel like they hate ministry because that took away their time from their parents. What was your experience like?
My parents were counselors, so they would be counseling other people who don't spend time with their kids. And so just the fact that they had a keen interest on counseling, my mom did masters in psychology, that was their line. So they were in touch with, make sure you are intentional about spending time with kids. The only thing I think I didn't like is would be at home in shags, and in the morning, of course you're selfish as a kid. You see 30 people in the morning, and you have to make tea for them, you have to wash dishes. That's the only thing I didn't like about being a pastor's kid. But later on I see the impact that it has made in the lives of people. People got education, a community was transformed. And it's beautiful now. It makes sense to me. And
when did you realize that you liked singing, or you even had that talent?
there was a cassette. It was a cassette at the time. Chico and Brenda. I don't know if you had it.
Yes.
So they sang "Soon and Very Soon."
Yeah.
It was Brenda Fassie actually.
Yeah.
So someone told me, because we were living in interior Machakos, they told me that Brenda is a kid. I was like, what? Okay, there was no internet to research at the time. So I said, what? She's a kid. I can do that and do better.
Yeah.
So that Brenda Fassie inspired me.
Yes.
On her Christian album. So I went ahead and told my dad I want to do an album, and I kept repeating I want to do an album.
How old were you?
I was 9.
Yeah.
So at 11 is when I was able to do the album. And from then I think it was just uphill.
Yes.
Yeah.
And why gospel? Was it because of growing up in a Christian home, so you probably didn't have the chance or the choice to make, secular music?
I tried, how you try in school to sing them secular songs. There was Maria Carey at the time, and Whitney and Celine, and how you try those songs. But it feels so empty for me. And so I felt I didn't know that it's purposeful, because I'd feel more happier ministering in worship and in gospel. So when I tried, I'd feel really, really, really sad. And of course, people would go in school like, hey, Mercy Masika, meimba, wimbo ya dunia. I don't know, that somehow molded me. But I also had a relationship with God from a tender age. My parents encouraged me to go along with them to the prayer mountain. So I'd be going to the mountain to show my dad I can fast. But somehow I gained just having a relationship with God. And one of the things that I didn't even know molded me was every evening I'd come from school and I'd play worship music for 1 hour. There was the Ron Kennedy's, Alvin Slaughter, just every day, and pray and worship until I cried. I don't even know why I was crying. And that in a way molded me and my love for gospel music. So it's deep. It feels purposeful. I don't like doing things that mean nothing to me. Like I came for this interview because it feels purposeful. Yes.
I want to get a little bit more about church and the pressure, because you've just mentioned about if you sang a secular song, the way people would be like, ameimba wimbo ya dunia. So I'll come up after the break and talk about wimbo ya dunia and the pressure sometimes that people like you get from the church. We'll catch up with that question after the break. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back to the Cynthia Nyamai Show. So we're talking about your new wimbo ya dunia. Do you find that sometimes you are received better in what people would call the secular world than the church world, or is it both fire on this side and people having different expectations of you?
Okay, for me, I have both. So the world pays me better. Yes.
It's important.
And the church receives me well.
Yes. Oh, okay.
So I feel celebrated more in both places.
Yes.
The connection I have with church is I love worship. And I have songs like Mwema that, people out there, I hear people play them in clubs. That, I meet different kinds of people. So there's a balance. I think there's a balance. Yeah. And I think it's partly because I grew up in church and I love worship.
But talking about balance, sometimes you find like in churches, people say, your talent is your calling. And so maybe we shouldn't, pay you for that. God will bless you for that. But at the same time, people have costs. If you record a song, there's a cost to that. How do we make that balance of still enjoying, yes, the talent, but making sure that you get payment for that?
I'll tell you what, worshippers in Kenya are frustrated, and I wish we'd put it on the headlines because a lot of churches don't value worship leaders. You'll be talking about Nigerians and South Africans doing well. It's because the church, like Sinach's church, they literally fund musicians to do the projects. They don't tell the whole world, but like 50 musicians have been funded by the church to do their projects, and they give you in millions, and because it's an investment they're putting in the word and in the word through music. And so in Kenya, big churches will pay you 3,000
Wow.
Yes, and do I look annoyed?
3,000 per hour or 3,000?
Per session, you could do 3 services and they give you 3,000. And these are big churches. I don't want to mention names.
Yes.
And so being a pastor's kid, you know, I'm talking to my dad. He's also a pastor.
Yeah.
And it's not right.
Yeah.
That's how we're killing the gospel, because the church does not take care of the ministers,
Yes.
leave alone paying them well. They need money to do music. To do a live recording like what Sinach does takes over 10 million, you know, Kenyan shillings.
Yes.
And so in Kenya, the reason why, you know, you find a lot of people, the corporate world pays better, but they don't want you to sing worship. Are you going to come and worship Jesus, you know,
it doesn't
in the end of year party?
Yes.
Yes. And so I believe now more than ever before, and especially Kenya, and nice things have been spoken about Kenya being, you know, the center of revival. For those of you who understand what revival is, it's God moving and Kenyans, you know, being revived. But the one thing that we really need to focus on is look at worship leaders, people who served in church for more than 10 years. They've already proved their faithfulness. And so the church should in some way support them, because we will be taking gospel music and worship music ahead. And so it's a tricky place for many people who are genuine and genuine worshippers.
Is that maybe part of the reason why we are seeing so many artists who sing gospel now move to secular?
I mean, if Safaricom is calling me and they're paying me better than the church, you say they'll give you, say, 500,000 and church will give you 3,000 for real. I mean, if you're not grown spiritually, if you're not grounded, like I've had the privilege to be grounded with my parents, there is that temptation. Of course, God comes through, but it's tricky for many young people who don't have mentors and guides, you know, like I've had. And so, yes, I understand a lot of young people are shifting that direction, because this is where the money is, and they need the things they haven't grown, you know, to know that my image and, you know, my are more important than money. So I think that's why there's a shift, because the church is not taking care of the worshiper.
I was just listening to one of your new singles, I think a week ago, and over the years I've been listening to you. Then what keeps you, despite these challenges, what keeps you still going in gospel industry?
It's totally the grace of God. What keeps me going is I made a decision to be faithful. You know, there are times you sing and nobody listens, nobody claps for you. You do what you do, you know, but nobody, there are no returns. So I made a decision to be faithful, because I'll stand before God to give an account of how I use the gifts and the talents that He gave me. And so every one of us, even if you're not in music, you'll stand before God and say, what did you do, you know, for the kingdom of God? What profit have you brought? What umezaa matunda yapi, you know? And so by my music, I believe that in one way or the other brought some, you know, impact into the kingdom of God.
But the good thing also, we've been seeing also people from secular getting into the gospel industry. So we can't say, you know, I think when you go secular, sometimes you realize it's not as purposeful as when you do it for God. When you represent yourself, it's not as purposeful as when you represent a kingdom that's higher and greater than you. And so that's why a lot of people are coming. We tend to emphasize more the people from gospel who are going to secular. Well, they're just two. And there are many more people who are coming from secular to gospel, because I'm sure they want that satisfaction of knowing I have set my treasures and put my treasures in heaven. One of the other things that people talk about the gospel industry is people say, you know, ni kama wimbo ya dunia, the standards, a lot of people say it's like people are copying the standards of the secular world, and also the secular style of doing business. I mean, of doing business, yes, and even the songs. Would you say that there are actual standards that one needs to follow that are completely different from the secular world?
I think everybody has their opinion. And for me, you know, like the song I did recently, Kuna Namna, there are people who go like, hey, Kuna, your beat. But you see, that's their opinion. I also don't think the devil has any beat. I don't think he created anything. And so if you like a beat, and God has given us to be creatives. And so when you're a creative, sometimes people who are not creatives don't get you. But I feel the devil owns nothing, and we have liberty. We've been given freedom. And so flow in whatever area, because a beat is a beat for me. And God created everything. everything, and so I enjoy everything. You know, like the song, my producer played the beat. I was like, wow, you know, and everybody has their opinion, but I love to enjoy even my music.
Yes. I want to get into the creative part, because when I anytime I listen to a song, I'm like, I guess because I'm not talented in that area, I'm like, how do people come up with this beat? How do people write lyrics that are so perfect and go so well with the beat, and lyrics that inspire? I'm going to get into that process with you shortly. But before we get into that, can you sing for us just one line, and then we take a break?
Okay.
Just one. Which is your favorite?
Let's sing your favorite, Shule Yako.
Yes, Shule Yako is my favorite.
All right. So, Baba nichukue, nifunze, nataka kusoma. Kwa shule yako, kwa shule yako. You can sing what? Baba nichukue, nifunze, nataka kusoma. Kwa shule yako, kwa shule yako.
We're coming back shortly. Welcome back. I'm sure you're now rating my vocals. Would you hire me as your backup singer? Okay, I'll keep my day job.
Yeah. Keep talking.
I think so. But talking about that creative process, which we have just realized is not my gift or talent, how do you write and produce a song?
You just write, then you go to studio, then you sing, then you go home.
I wish it was that easy.
No, I have like 400 songs on my phone.
Wow.
So they don't come, I don't sit and say, nah, a song is coming, it doesn't work well. So I check my song bank when I go to studio.
Okay.
So I'm prepared, you know, you could put in 2-3 songs that you sang and they become a song.
Yeah.
That's one of the ways. And sometimes it's important to also have other people join you in writing, because we have a way of writing things our way, so it's always nice to have someone else. Yes.
Talking about Sinach, you had mentioned Sinach earlier, and she's Nigerian, but she's a name that is well known in Kenya and around the world, and even international churches and choirs and bands sing her song. Why haven't we seen Kenyan musicians, whether it's secular or even gospel, to break that ceiling?
Well, I think we're gonna get there.
Yes.
But one of the challenges is, I think most worshippers don't have much of support. But then again, that's entitlement. So I think we're getting there. But also our culture tends to also like what is, Kikuyu's like Kikuyu music, and very little support has been shown to English, songs that reach the world. And so I think we need to now just step out by faith. I've already started to sing English songs, which haven't done well. But we're many of us. I see people like Evelyn Wanjiro, many worshippers releasing a sound that the whole world can hear. And I think it's time. I think it's time. Whether the church supports or not, God has a million ways of providing, as long as we put our faith into it. So my faith, and I'm sure many other worshippers, is, Lord, we want to do this, provide for us, and He will.
And apart from getting that support, from the church, could it also be that maybe the standards are not good enough to be received internationally? Are we also facing that challenge?
There are a lot of churches with amazing worshippers, talented people. I realize most talented people are not even famous in this country. And so those are the people that I feel are the ones with, we have amazing worship teams. You should come to my church and go like, what? We sound like a CD, And not just my church, but many other churches. There are churches that have amazing musicians who've not been heard. And so we have standards. It's just that we haven't done it yet. We haven't, quite come out, but we are coming out.
I saw you, especially last year, when you had interviews online. And I thought that is actually a good way for us to, still see that you're there and still be relevant. Have you found other ways, especially using technology, to survive during this time of COVID?
Yeah. We did live concerts.
Yes.
Still are doing, and so in one way or the other it brings a balance, but not as much as when you have people meeting. It's not the same. When people are in the crowd, there's an energy you get from when they respond right back to you. And so we've been trying to be creative about it, and but we haven't yet gotten to the level of real concerts.
So you're looking forward to us being able to go out and able to have a concert mix with people.
I'm actually so excited about church because we're able to worship together. That does it for me.
What would you advise any person who wants to get into the music industry?
I think you can't give people strategies. You have to hear strategies for yourself from God. But the important thing,
you've been there for long. You've been relevant for
and it's just staying in tune with God. Because there's something I call pin drop accuracy. God gives you pin drop accuracy. And every time you're just in line with and in alignment with God, everything falls into place. But it's important to know that you need to be give the best, go to studio, give the best, write songs and take your job seriously. Do as much as you can with the videos. Do as much, to reach also the culture of the people around you, because a lot of people sing songs that culture doesn't, understand. So you have a part to play in terms of production, and God also has a part. But the important thing is stay in prayer, stay under authority. Anybody who's not under authority is wild and crazy. I mean, it takes a little bit of fame. You know how your soul doesn't prosper if you're in money and in fame. It's like people just get worse and worse and worse. They get darker and darker and darker if they're not in God. And so stay under authority and stay and this authority things are for real. I used to wonder, why should we stay under authority to be but God has ordered it that way. Because if you think you're too great, you ain't.
Thank you so much for joining us. I think one of the things that you've mentioned about staying relevant is when we stay in our purpose, everything is just aligned.
Yes. And it's important sometimes we get ideas and ignore them. Well, it's important to act fast on the things that God tells you, because if you do not obey, he stops speaking and you're wondering what's wrong with my life, because there are a lot of people who need to be on TV but they still feel shy, they feel they're not good enough, while while you're at it you get better. And so start what has been laid in your heart, obey. God speaks and he speaks clearly.
Thank you so much
you
for joining us and helping me realize I should stay in my day job. I think something that you said, to remain relevant, we need to remain in our purpose. Understand your purpose, and a line that people use a lot is stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. If you have any comments, please send them to Cynthia at Cynthia Nyamai. That is on Twitter, Facebook, and also Instagram. Let us know who you would like us to have on the show, and even share some of the questions that you have for them. For another show like this, join us next week, same time.